Welcome to Tommy Solo's Famous Friends. This is where I get to chat with people that I've connected with over the years in the world of arts and entertainment. And today I'm very happy to have on the show Lee Aaron. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Hey, good to be here, Tommy. What a pleasure.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Now, you have a brand new album out called Tattoo Me. And when I first started to see the PR stuff, I thought this was going to be another original album. But this is something totally new for you. It's an album of covers. And wow, some of the artists that you've covered, everybody from Nina Simone to Led Zeppelin and Heart. Man, this is a real challenge. And from what I've seen so far, you are up to the challenge. So congratulations on this new release. I believe it's going to be out in a couple of days now.
April in 2 days, April 26th, two more sleeps.
Right.
Very
And people can pre-order on your website.
Yeah, it's pretty much on Amazon all over the world now. Um, and there's a few other online retailers where you're able to grab it, snag it as well. Also, the singles are up on all the streaming platforms, and the whole album will be there on Friday. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. And you are correct. It's I've done the odd cover here and there in the past, the odd couple of covers, but not a full album of cover material with that was intentional. And so that's what's different about this record. But I think by now, if you're a fan of Lee Aaron, you pretty much know I can write a catchy song. So I don't. It's not like I got to go out there and real prove myself that like I'm not out here trying to still prove myself after 19 albums. And yeah, I just got floated as a fun artistic project to tackle with the guys in the band and myself because we're always up for new challenges. And yeah, I got floated this idea, and we're like, yeah, that would be super fun. We were stoked about it. We're like, let's figure it out. Yeah, so there.
Oh yeah, man, this is really cool. We're all excited for the release. Everybody from Nina Simone to Led Zeppelin. Wow. I know that when you were just a kid in junior high, you were singing Broadway tunes in theater already. So it's not like you didn't know how to sing. You must have taken voice lessons at some point, I'm assuming.
I took a very few of them from a teacher in Toronto years ago, not very many. And I was sort of involved in any kind of theater project, musical theater project I could get my hands into when I was a child, as well as being in choirs and some musical theater training, obviously in my later years of high school. So yeah, some of the stuff, some of the jazz and blues and stuff I've done in the past, I wasn't a complete stranger really to the Tin Pan Alley writers and a lot of the Broadway material, and that jazzier form of music was so when I did that a few years ago, it wasn't like it was completely out of left field. It was something that I'd kind of grown up singing as well. And henceforth, the Nina Simone cover on our album. I love Nina Simone. She's just an incredible artist. Was well, still her music obviously still lives on, but yeah, so there. And I had to have a Nina song on the album.
Well, I know that you started out as a signed artist. In 1982, I think the Lee Aaron project was released first on Freedom Records and then a couple of years later on Attic. Is that right?
Yeah, so when I was very young, my first album, I think I was 18 or 19, I signed a deal with Freedom Records out of Canada. They were distributed by Polydor, Polygram, and I was on Polydor in Europe for that album as well. Yeah, and then after that album came and went, I signed I think, 6 album deal. It was one of those crazy 80s record contracts where they owned all your masters in perpetuity. And that was just what everyone signed back then, with the option to do overcall albums if you were on tour for too long because they could get another record out of you. So yeah, I was on Attic forever, but they bought the rights back to my first album and re-released it subsequently later with a new cover that actually had me on it.
Yeah. So I know that in the early days for you, the music business was really a misogynist arena, really. So I understand that you weren't particularly happy about the image that they were trying to present with the whole metal queen and all that. But it's got to be empowering when you can go indie and have complete control.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I have been independent really since the mid 90s. Um, Basically, since the grunge movement happened, and everybody who was part of melodic slash classic slash hair metal rock, um, their careers kind of fell off the edge of a cliff in the 90s with the advent of grunge. And I decided to sort of take charge of my own business affairs because I had some financial issues that my manager, former manager and lawyer had kind of dug me into a little bit of a hole with. And but yeah, so it was kind of a loaded question. I stumbled through some very awkward marketing years in the early part of my career because I was a young girl. I didn't really understand. Number one, I didn't understand how this was done. How do you get attention in this industry? And I was sort of being told by the powers that be, well, you wear shorts and you got to look like a babe. You got to look as good as you can. And my motivations, obviously, for being in the music industry were I wanted to be a musician in a band and I wanted to write songs. And that was always on my agenda, but I wasn't marketed as a serious musician. So there were a lot of obstacles to overcome, trust me, in the 80s in terms of, fighting for credibility, not only musically, but also, you know, you know, on the industry front, in the boardroom, getting your voice heard by the powers that be was difficult. So uh, taking charge of all my own affairs, and you know, one of the best things that ever happened to me was again, like everyone's career, kind of financially and otherwise bottomed out um, in the 90s. I was working with a shoestring budget to make a new record. And I was like, how can I do this? And I was like, well, I could pay all this money to a studio and an engineer, or I could buy some Pro Tools and figure out how to do it myself. And so I started working with Pro Tools in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's just kind of evolved from there to a point now where I've been involved, obviously, very deeply in the production of all my own records, doing the lion's share of the recording in my own home studio. I work in Logic now, and of course the guys in my band are also quite adept with recording themselves because during COVID we were all put into a position. We all got put into a box where we were like, what can we do? Well, we can all upgrade our home studios and try to be operating on the same platform here so that we can record back and forth. And so that's kind of been a real empowering thing as well, besides sort of taking financial control and artistic control of everything. And nowadays, yeah, it's my boutique label, and I find a distributor all over the world, find distributors all over the world to put my music out. So I personally think it's the best business model, the way to do it.
Yeah, it's nice to have control of what you're doing and how you do it. Absolutely. So back to the new album, Tattoo Me. Why don't we take a quick minute and give the people a preview of the video for Even It Up?
Nice, let's do it. It's so fun.
I
Oh, that's awesome. That's really great production. And man, what can I say? Kudos to everybody involved. Now, I'm not sure how much of the band stuff is done long distance through technology, but I know that Sean Kelly lives in North. No, he lives in Toronto. He's from North Bay originally. And I don't know who he doesn't play with. That's a guy who I don't know how he ever has time for a nap or to sit down or anything. But yeah, he's a really good fit with your project. Absolutely.
So, Sean's fantastic. Oh, we love him. He's our favorite guitar player of all the Canadian guitar players, and there's some great ones, right? But um, he's just such a lovely person as well. And I'm kind of at the stage and age in my life where I not only want to work with great players, but I want to work with great guys they're like my brothers, right? And yeah, and so Sean is not um, as involved, I think, on an artistic level, writing and everything with all the projects but he likes to dabble in everything, and he likes to work. He's a very industrious person, so I know he does the odd gig once in a while with Alan Frew, like a solo thing with him. He does the odd, like maybe one or two gigs a year with Carol Pope. He does a couple gigs a year with Coney Hatch. But he's actually really a part of my band and a part of my artistic team, and invested here, which I am very, very blessed and happy about. Yeah, he's just a great player, and yeah, we've done it all ways. Like Sean has flown out to the West Coast, and we've gone into big like studios and done recordings for the last few original albums. And we've also done some recording remotely for solos or whatever. And then Tattoo Me, our most recent project, just because of circumstances, we did quite a bit of files sharing back and forth. But the wonderful thing is Sean has been in the band 11 years now. The rest of the other guys I play with, 20 years. We all really understand how each other work, and so pulling all the elements together in my own studio and making it 100% sound like I know what we sound like when we're playing together on a stage. So if that requires a little, slice or tweak here with the drum editing and just making sure that the parts lock up, I can do that, right? And so yeah, I'm so happy with the way Tattoo Me turned out, because yeah, it's got that live off the floor feel, and of course was mixed by our lovely pal, who's also I like to consider him a part of our artistic team, Frank Greiner. If you look Frank up, he's done just a massive amount of stuff. He was a real engineer, producer in the 90s as well. And he is just wonderful. I can send him tracks and he gives it a set of fresh ears and sends it back to me. And I'm like, love this, let's fix this, love this. And then we end up working together and on these mixes. And I just love what he does. He's so talented.
Awesome. Now, it is nice to have control and to have the ability to write and arrange your own music. But I found personally, when I'm in the studio, I like to have a producer there to kind of give me a kick in the pants, and just help me turn it up a little bit. So it's nice to have that as well, another set of eyes and ears, if you will. Now, I know Sean Kelly, but tell me about the rhythm section in your band.
So, so Dave Reimer, my bass player, oh boy, we've been working together for almost 20 years now. He's a Vancouver-based gentleman, has played in a variety of bands over the years. He played with Bryan Adams for a while. Again, does like one or two gigs a year with Barney Bentall and the Legendary Hearts. And it not only a great player, but a fantastic singer. I love Dave's voice. Our voices blend super well. I love doing background harmonies with him for my albums. Um, and yeah, my husband actually suggested him many, many moons ago to bring him into the fold. And he's just been a consistent part of the band ever since. And he's just a great guy. And he has his own guitar company, Reimer Guitars. If you go on to Facebook or Instagram and Google, or you look up Reimer Guitars, he is a guitar builder and he is fantastic. His guitars are amazing. and they're expensive, but hey. So, um, yeah, and he's a wonderful craftsman. And then my husband John, um, if you go to John Cody online, my husband has played in probably 200 bands over the years. He's a jack of all trades. He can literally play any style of music. One of his favorite projects he still plays in occasionally is something called Alex Brown and his Boulevardiers, and it's all 1920s and 30s, like Glenn Miller orchestra type of, like, Chick Webb kind of, drumming. He's fantastic, and but he's a great rock player too. So I feel really blessed to have him in the band, and and he's my husband, right? It's like iron sharpening iron. He's always pushing me. I don't need a producer. I just take something upstairs, and he goes, "Really? Is that? Don't you think? Why don't you? I think you could do something a little more, fantastic on this last out chorus." And so he pushes me to be my best. All the guys in the band do. So
That's great. It's great to have a cohesive team and to have your husband as part of it. That's pretty cool. I mean, neither one of you has to worry about what the other one's doing on tour because you're there. Um, so that's awesome, man. We're gonna look forward to everything new and shiny from Lee Aaron. I know you have rehearsals coming up real soon. I don't want to take up your whole day.
that's
Um,
okay.
but man, you got to get the new album, Tattoo Me. Check it out, folks. It is amazing from what I've seen and heard so far. Thanks so much, Lee, for taking the time out of your day to do this with me. And until next time, cheers. Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a one-man production, meaning that I've done all the work, including recording, editing, guest acquisition, etc. And hey, here's some news. We've just recently joined forces with 519 Magazine, so you can check out my interviews there as well. The theme song for Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a clip from my original composition, The Burn, all rights reserved. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to help us keep it going, why don't you click on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, cheers.